Africans Leaving America now has a repatriation manual for your visit outside of the U.S. or for your repatriation journey. This manual has plane ticket information, self-care journaling, and also financial planning with a savings log attached. This will help our people keep track of their income and journal along the way. You can find us on Amazon under Afia Kumsen or under Repatriation Manual. Thank you for your contributions. Africa United. Hello, family. This is Africans Leaving America. I am Afia Kumsen, and for the second time, I have a wonderful guest with me today. Please introduce yourself to the platform for the second time, brother.
Greetings, family. How y'all doing? Peace and blacktricity, as my elder would say. I'm Chief Foday, General Mansa Foday, your brother.
And I had his wife on here the last time, and she gave us so much information. She did. Like, she gave us so much info on like your farming initiative, how she came to Sierra Leone, just so much that you all are doing on the continent right now. But what I want to ask you, because some of the things I didn't get to chop it up with you the last time with, because we just was, hey, you know how it is when you first talking to somebody and you trying to, get all the information you can, because I've never done anything on Sierra Leone on this platform, So I was trying to get all the information that I could, and I also got a little choked up, when you started talking about the Gullah Geechee,
Yeah.
That's a touchy subject, for a lot of us. I really didn't mean to, tear up like that. It just kind of just came to me because I'm so passionate about what I do,
That is libation, We were talking about our ancestors and our ancestry.
Yeah.
And they demanded libation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it comes from eyes. It don't always got to come from a bottle or, sometimes it can be tears. It don't have to be water.
I totally agree. But I really enjoyed the download with you and also your wife. That's why I wanted to do a part 3 to this, because I just felt like we had more to talk about. So my first question for you would be, what is your vision and your goal for Sierra Leone?
My personal vision, like me.
Yeah. Your personal vision.
Well, my personal vision is that the same as for all the African countries in general, that this country will get past the neo-colonial mind state and structure of living, that, the quality of education that our people need to really be self-sustaining and really stand sovereign in the world and be able to defend our interests. I want that for any people, especially our African people. So it's really not nothing specific that I would want for Sierra Leone, that I wouldn't want for Guinea, that I wouldn't want for Ghana. I just think that at the end, I want our people to have what is ours. You know what I'm saying? This is one of the reasons why we do the farming, because it's one of the things that we can produce and claim as our own, at least from inception. And then decisions are made based on policies and other things that ultimately leave us hungry. You know what I mean? So it's deeper than just what happened to us centuries ago. It's things that's happening to us right now that we really truly haven't grasped. And if anything, I would like to see this particular country, Sierra Leone, be among the leading populations, because I'm very careful not to say that these neo-colonial entities are what our enemies said they were. Like, I see Nigeria, but I see Africans. I see Ghana, but I see Africans. And the reason is because, where did those territories come from? What is Sierra Leone? You ever ask yourself, what is Sierra Leone? Where does the name come from? When did it get its present borders? when did these groups become defined as they are currently today? Are we still colonized? And if we are, then are we seeking to do what within the colonies? Because for me, and my understanding is that it doesn't really matter what nation state we're talking about today. Africa is Africa.
It is.
And Africa is for the Africans. And it's not just a philosophy. It's really something that we have to embrace as our reality. No matter what, we determine our destiny. No matter what. It's only when we believe that others control our destiny that we lose. We feed into anyone else's scam to get us into whatever situation that they want us in to our disadvantage, and usually to their advantage. So I would like to see Sierra Leone get past the hump of the democratic struggle here in the country. People have been fighting for basic rights, like freedom of speech. Women have really been fighting for their rights to land ownership and inheritance, and fighting against the general abuses that you find in every society. Because you always got some bad apples, you always got some sick puppies out there. I would like to see that come to a reduced level. I would like to see the youth be more aggressive and more assertive with their ideals. I talk to them in their environment. They're very bright. They have a whole future that they can envision, but they just can't see how to make it happen.
The execution is hard for them.
Yeah, it's very hard, man. Like you sit down and say, yo, how you want to see the country in 10 years? Oh man, you might start crying because they understand what they're being deprived. They want that. They might not want America. They might not want Western society, but they want modernization.
In their country.
Yes. Yes. Why not? Some people are running just so that they have, better housing facilities, in a foreign country. Better educational facilities for their children in a foreign country. Like this country has contributed nothing at all to the advancement and the development of other countries in the world, to the point where I would like to see this debt hustle that the IMF and the World Bank and other foreign capitalist enterprises utilize to cripple African countries. I would like to see it, and not only in Sierra Leone, but all over Africa. But in particular, here, they do a lot of human rights campaigning. They find everything that they can classify as a human rights violation, and then that becomes their diplomatic talk. So they want you to change these things to fit into their model of human rights, or else maybe you won't get the resources that they know you need to develop infrastructure. And so it's a thing. Whereas, how did we ever get into the situation of needing anyone to help with basic things?
Yeah.
And so it goes back to questioning: are we really free, or are we still colonized? And I would like to see Africa absolutely free, and I would like to see Sierra Leone, currently as it is, to be part of a borderless Africa, to be part of a democratized, African democratized, meaning that based on kinship and family and land, lineage, not based on capital and banking and finance and the capitalist thing. Based on the African value system, not the European value system.
Exactly. Because that's where things got messed up when they brought their things in to the African country, because Africa didn't need them. They need Africa, at the end of the day. And that's where things got messed up, for the absolute worst,
Oh yeah. All of these populations, races, and nations in the world, they all have their history of origins. They all have their history of evolution and development. How they evolved their modern political ideal, how they evolved their modern economic practice. And for us, it's like Dr. John Henry Clark always say, slavery interrupted African history. But it's not the beginning of who we are.
Exactly.
And when we understand that and we realize that as sober people, as people that can look back and feel as though we don't have no dog in the fight either way, because this was a long, long time ago. And it happened to us before we was even conceived. And we're still bearing the brunt of an attack or attacks that it took hundreds of years for them to deliver. And I'm still feeling the effects now. So the thing is like, either I view myself as a victim because of that, and I seek some kind of justice from my enemy, or I say, you know what? There was a time where we was in that position too. And we could have abused and invaded and conquered and done all these things to other people as well. But we adhered to a system that was African, that was ma'at, that was about balance of all things, and including people. But other people came with a different ideal.
Yeah.
We could have done them dirty, but we didn't. And more than once, historically, going back thousands of years. I think that we really got to get to a point where we define who we are and what Africa is to us, because that's all that should matter in the whole conversation. That's how we got to start. You see, you can't be a Pan-African unless you believe in the concept of Africa. You have to, Africa something you have to believe in, because a lot of people be like, man, that's not Africa. That's not the real name. I don't believe that. North Africa is Arab. This is it. Not everybody believe the same thing. But if you're saying you're a Pan-Africanist, you must first also have an African identity. An African identity implies that the strongest, the greatest expression of any people is nationhood. That's what Marcus Garvey said. So an African should be an African nationalist. They should be loyal politically, economically, and culturally to Africa and African people, right? That would make you a Pan-Africanist when you don't limit yourself to your own individual self or your own local situation, but you realize that you individually and whatever's going on in your life locally is connected to everything that's going on globally, to every single African human being in the world. That's when you're a Pan-Africanist, when you get it. When you realize that that sister over there in Zimbabwe who's suffering to get water, all she needs is a borehole. And you say, well, if I was in her situation, I would want someone out here to help me get that borehole.
Exactly.
And you do the work. That's practical Pan-Africanism in the 21st century. You know, so yeah, man, you know, back to your original question real fast. I would change the political system. You know, I envision Sierra Leone becoming a place that we begin to study more because of the history of us here. We have to go back now and remember what we have forgotten. And we have to go back and discover what has been hidden from us all along. And it's a painful process. Some people are afraid of books because after they read them, they have to change their way of thinking. And that's the painful part.
Ain't that the truth?
And so, you know, those of us who can bear the pain, we have a greater responsibility because we know most of us can't. And the main thing is that, you know, I'll say this and end it. Dr. Huey P. Newton, Black Panther Party co-founder, former Minister of Defense. He had something that he always said, and Fred Hampton always quoted. And it was around the question of the masses of our people at the time still being relatively ignorant, illiterate, still suffering those kind of conditions that colonialism imposes on oppressed people. Not saying that people was dumb or couldn't read, just saying that the situation was bad. You know what I'm saying? We needed them to read a little better. We needed them to do things better. And so he said, whenever you're in that situation and the masses of people don't have their own institutional controls and things like that, and they need to learn a new way of struggle, a victorious way of struggle, not a victimized way of struggle, but a struggle for victory, then they have to make it to where the masses of our people can observe it and they can participate. If the masses of our people cannot observe and participate in what you got going on, chances is it ain't got no revolution to it. You
Yeah.
just probably on your own little thing, feeling good because you helping somebody. But that don't make it revolutionary. Charity is not revolutionary naturally. It has to be connected to the political ideals of African liberation, or it's not Pan-African. And this is the thing that people got to understand. So when we're talking about Sierra Leone, I would like to see more demonstration from the people, particularly in the diaspora, here.
Yes.
Because I believe that the people here are already preconditioned to absorb Pan-Africanism, if that makes sense to you. Like the first modern day African country to receive Africans from the diaspora back was Sierra Leone. The capital city is the first settlement of any African diasporans coming back. I live here in Freetown, whole capital city. That birthed all that was a nursery for a whole Pan-African population. People that came back from the Caribbean, came back from America, came back from London, came back, got off slave ships all over Western Central Africa. They came here and formed a Creole community. That's Freetown. And when you understand that, you realize that Pan-Africanism ain't brand new because somebody walk around calling themselves the prince today. Pan-Africanism, even for us, especially for the diaspora, goes back over 230 years today. Our people had the same ideals that we're talking about being Pan-African then. They just didn't call it that. And we have the evidence of repatriation back then. We have the evidence of violent revolutionary rebellions and plots to overthrow white supremacy in every single form that it existed at any time that our people had been oppressed up until today. That we are part of a continuum. And we have a role, the diaspora have a role, not only in Africa as a whole, but I believe in cycles. I think that things come back the way that they are supposed to be. And I really see Sierra Leone and I see Freetown as a big destination within where we're going with this. Where we're headed with this, I believe this is one of the destinations that has a key role to play.
Yeah.
And I, you know, even if I don't have statistics to prove it, I can't convince you spiritually, historically, geographically, for every single reason. When you think about the fact that Marcus Mosiah Garvey was saying that we need a black star liner so that we can independently control import and export and the travel of our people around the world. If they got a white star line, we need a black star line. For those who don't know, when you talk about the Titanic was a ship that was owned by a company called the White Star Line. Garvey said we need a black star line, just so people can understand.
That's why he had that big old ship.
I'm trying to tell you. So the thing is that he wasn't first. Garvey wasn't first. Garvey was following the footsteps of people a century before him. So if we don't have this education, if we're not imparting this education, particularly to countries like this that have a big role to play within that history, they'll never truly see themselves. And I want that for Sierra Leone. I want this country to really see what it produced in us, that we are them. If we out there balling and we out there doing it, it's because of you. It's because we come from here like it's because we African. It ain't because we're Asians or we have a Mexican culture or genetic structure. It's because we're Africans that we can survive on the rice plantations. Because we're Africans, we had the knowledge to plant the rice. It's because we're Africans. All of it is because we came from Africa.
Exactly. I feel like we all have a duty, you know, as a diaspora, as the African diaspora, we all have an individual duty. You know, I feel like we are all called to be different things, you know, on the continent, but find your place in the continent somewhere and do your duty, you know, do your just due, you know, because we have the privilege, you know, we do have privilege over here to do things, you know, for Africa. You know, we do. We do more than we give ourselves credit for. You know, if you can spend $20 to $30 on a meal, you know, that can be somebody's meal for a whole month in Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, let me tell you something, right? You got people literally who are doing all kind of things to make sure that they can buy all kind of things that they don't even fucking need.
Yep.
And we've been doing it. We are nothing but consumers. We act like we have money because we get paid, but we give it right back to the opposition.
We do.
They tax us 3 times, federal, state, income. We let it happen. We grumble about what they do with the money, but we keep on paying the taxes.
Yeah.
And so we are borderline complicit at this point.
We are.
We don't have the excuses anymore. Them chains, they're not here anymore.
They're
you can
not.
Swing. You can punch now. You know? And so it's like that. It's like if there's a bunch of people in prison, everybody wants to get out. Only a few people are willing to go the whole full extent of breaking out. You understand? Everyone's gonna stay out of trouble, you know, hope for parole. Some folk gonna be like, man, I'm getting the hell out of here. You going with me?
Yeah.
And there's a code when that happens that takes you back to Harriet Tubman. People knew they was gonna run before they ran.
Yep.
But they couldn't tell everybody, and it wasn't supposed to be broadcasted to the world. That would have got them caught.
Yep.
So when we understand that our return to Africa is equivalent to us escaping America, we're a stiff-necked, arrogant, stubborn people. We will spend billions of dollars on BS just so our kids can compete with their sneakers in school and wonder why they adopt these materialist mentalities, these value systems. Because you keep teaching them as more important to be fly
than it is to be educated.
This is why. So there's a lot going on that we really have to get past the point of even pointing the finger.
Man.
And it don't mean that, okay, now you're apologetic for the white man. No, I'm not. That cracker is not off the hook. But what I'm saying is that we don't got a chance at victory if we keep playing victim.
I'm telling you, and we need to worry about our own stuff. We really do. Because in order for us to defeat the enemy, we have to grow our own selves. We have to get the knowledge, we have to get the courage, take the fear out and stand up, and basically come together and start uniting instead of dividing. We got this crab in the bucket mentality that's really disgusting. It's really disgusting, and it's really like hurting us as a people, as a whole. You know what I mean? And we can talk about this till we blue in the face, but it's always going to be 2 or 3 bad apples over here. You know what I'm saying? And they can ruin the whole crew, And we've seen that over, hundreds of years ago. It was always somebody working for the slave master.
That's the thing, right? That's the thing, right? So you mean to tell me for hundreds of years we don't have a solution for dealing with traitors, but we think we're going to defeat the enemy? Is that what just happened? We don't have a solution to identify and uproot and discipline and deal with traitors and treachery, but we honestly think we're fighting the struggle to defeat our enemies? It don't make sense. It's a lot of rhetoric that will feel good and feel militant. That's part of the victim trauma. When someone has been victimized, they need to feel like it will never happen again. They need to have this vibe on them, like, ooh, they be more energized than ever before after being victimized. Instead of saying, no, man, no, you ain't gonna victimize me, and I don't get even Steven.
Yeah.
And so that mentality is what was attacked by COINTELPRO. It was a mentality that had been passed down for generations from fathers to sons and from mothers to daughters, and people would get married and they would know what role to play in the house. This is why. And so we understood that the seed of the rebellion is the black man and woman, is the home.
Yeah.
If you come in my house unjustly, I will lay you down at the door. And I don't care if you throw me in prison for life for it. You invaded my home. My family is here. You came unannounced and you used force. So it's like our people had a different mentality, but they was us. We the same people. There's nothing that has been done that man cannot do today.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is, we really got to have the will to return to a state of unity. Unity is a state of being, you know. Like if we vibing, then we in a state of unity. If me and you dancing, we grooving. That's practical unity. Just turn some music on and watch black folk dance, and you're gonna understand how our unity is versus how the white man's unity is. The white man's unity is very uniform and stiff, like how they dance. And ours is that.
We got that rhythm.
So it's the same way with everything in our life. Unity. When we think of unity, we don't think of uniformity. We think of a unity through diversity. Everybody got their different colors on the day and got their different, however they feel. Everyone's expressing themselves, and that's how we are collectively.
Mm-hmm.
To see 3-4 people wearing the same clothes is strange to us. Oh, what y'all doing? No, matching up, ain't you? That catches us. Because usually everybody just dress how they feel, even in America. Same thing in Africa. I don't want you about no dressing. But consumerism, capitalism, all of this socialization where it gives us more value to commodities and goods than what they're actually worth. Where you actually have people like, rest in peace to PNB Rock. He's a rapper out of Philadelphia that was murdered in LA recently with his wife. He was out with his girlfriend. Eating goals and some noodle heads seen them, and they over jewelry. Now imagine the man who did it was 17. His father was the getaway driver. His father's wife is the accomplice.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? This is the state of the Black American family. This is what I'm telling you. How are we gonna have unity with that? We cannot unite with filth. If you unite with filth, you end up dirty yourself. So everybody trying to stay clean and avoid everybody. This is why we can't work. And that was the whole plan of the enemy, is to create so much distrust, so much misunderstanding, so much conflict that everybody's scared to engage with every fucking body. We scared as hell right now. That's what's going on. We got our stuff and we acting hard because the reality is that we scared of our babies.
Yeah. I'm afraid for the youth, brother, and I vow that I will not grow old in America. I am preparing a place for my children to leave America. They will not be in this system. I am preparing a table, and I just feel so sad for our people in America. This is a truly divided place for us, and not everybody belongs in Africa. That is African here in America.
Africa has everything that we need. America has everything that we think we want. And when we understand that and we can reprioritize and put our needs before our wants, we'll start, getting connected to Africa and seeing how practical it is. I always said, I'm out here. If my son don't come, I'm out here. And I might be long gone and my grandson won't come. Grandpops was out here. I left friends and family and a reputation for you. Come on out here. That's what it's really about. There's a relationship that was severed. And that's what we're supposed to be restoring and rebuilding. That's where the healing process is. You don't have to be in Africa to Sankofa. You don't have to. You don't have to. That's BS. It starts mentally. It starts with the mind. You can be if you believe that because you're in America, you was born in America, that makes you an American, then you're already lost. That's why Malcolm said because a cat gives birth to kittens in an oven doesn't make them biscuits. Because Europeans never stopped being where they was from.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's a thing where our identity crisis, the drug crisis that you see in our community, all this violence, these young boys feeling so afraid of each other and insecure that they doing it for the enemy. You know what I mean? And the same dudes that thought it was cool to be exposing them little kids when they was babies.
Yeah.
Now they can't discipline them no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's just kill season.
All
And
the
so
homies on the block, the OGs, teaching the youngsters how to smoke weed and drink on 40s and hold a Glock. You know what I'm saying? Look what you
yeah,
created. You
yeah,
created a monster, you know?
yeah.
But we need healing. If you take a gangster that's 17, 18 here in America and bring him to Africa, he would probably cry, you know, because he would see that what he's been doing has been all wrong. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about guns and stuff like that in Africa. They ain't up there shooting people on the block like we do over here in the
Exactly.
States, you know?
Exactly. The main thing they're gonna see is that it could be worse. You know what I mean? And not only could it be worse, but you realize how much you take for granted over there.
Yeah.
And how much really you wouldn't have over there if it wasn't for your ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if your ancestors didn't fight against what they were attempting to do, we wouldn't have this culture. We wouldn't have this way that gives us value in the world. And so, you know, it's just about having the connection. If we lost our connection right now, we talking. If the internet loses its connection, what's going to happen?
She's gonna be lost.
That's what happened when they took us out of here. And so we should be trying to do what would happen if this thing got disconnected today. Reconnect. Let me get back on so we can continue our interview. Let us have this communication going on so we can do what we got to do. Education, business, make moves.
Yeah.
Once we can't communicate, we can't coordinate. We can't work together. There's no unity if you can't communicate with each other.
And then memories begin to lose, your memories become lost after a certain period of time. You start to forget things about what you knew before.
America teaches us to focus on individual responsibility and survival.
Not a collective.
That is the biggest thing undermining us. We used to know how to survive as a collective in America. When we had no choice.
When we had no choice.
But now that we got a choice, you see what's happening. So the thing is that we all got to take equal responsibility and prioritize a functional, practical unity that can be self-sustained and self-determined. That's what it's about. If we have that, then we can engage and build relationships and deal with any other group around any other issue. But if we don't have that, no. You know why? Because to go back, P.P. Newton said, observation and participation. Demonstrate the right way to the people. It only took one act to create a whole sensation and trend of acts. It only took one Black Panther Party school program, breakfast program. And then they start popping up everywhere else. Because the issue was the same everywhere else. All you needed was a couple people with an organizational model that they can work with, and before you know it, the kids are getting food, nutritious breakfast.
And it's still happening to this day.
Well, the United States government jacked it. That's where you get the free lunch program from.
Exactly.
J. Edgar Hoover, Gay Edgar Hoover, he said that the most dangerous program of the Black Panther Party was the breakfast program. He said it because at that time, they would indoctrinate the babies with Black power. And they would, and the babies would learn the connection between Black power and freedom. And they would breed the revolutionaries. But so what happened to these Panther Cubs? You think these people still ain't out there thinking like this, that grew up in the programs? So the thing is, like, the enemy know they out there too.
One of them was probably your grandfather or your grandmother or your auntie, or your uncle, because you truly got it in you. And so does Kenya, Kenya from
Yeah,
Chi-Town. So it's a
yeah,
lot of them there too. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Hey,
It's
I'm
the point.
telling you, y'all two together, the Most High, he knew
Mhm.
exactly what he was doing when he did that one. For
Yes, sir.
real. And I told her that the last time we had our interview, the Most High did this for a reason. I'm telling you, the Most High is putting people together for this time, such as now.
Oh yeah.
You see
Oh
it,
yeah.
don't you? You see
Oh
it?
yeah.
You
Oh yeah.
feel
I
it.
know it.
It's a
I'm very.
shift.
I'm very. I wouldn't say I'm religious. I don't like to go into religion too much, but I have a spiritual ality.
Yeah.
I got a sense of morality. I do. I believe in divine
Divine.
superpowers, but um, you know, none of this is happening. This interview is not happening without destiny,
Exactly.
and destiny is divine
Very.
and self-determined
Mm-hmm.
because we also have our will within. If you need a haircut, you don't pray for it. You go get a
You
haircut.
go get it.
When you're hungry, you don't pray for it, and then your belly get full. You go make a
Mm-hmm.
meal. So
Mm-hmm.
you do have your own will and decision within it.
Exactly.
And so just understanding that we're a part of the whole, being spiritual about it. Definitely, man. I can see it happening not only to just me and my wife, but I see other beautiful couples that
Mm-hmm.
have been anointed. They have been divinely selected to be part of this process.
Yes.
And I'm talking about I see sisters, brothers from the diaspora finding love and relationship with brothers and sisters on the continent.
Mm-hmm.
See, me and my wife, we both from America. Like,
Yeah.
that's my preference. What I want,
Right.
I can't. I'm cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I can rock with it, I'm cool. But
Yeah.
what I'm familiar with is what I want. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I'm groomed for that. I was groomed to be the husband and the father of somebody born and raised in America. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, I best fit there. I
Mm.
just I hope that our people are able to um, see that it's practical. That
It can be
Africa,
done. Like,
yeah,
look
Africa.
at you. You are such an inspiration. You went out there single handedly. You
Mhm,
didn't have a house built or anything like that. What you had was the African connection. You know,
mhm,
you had the connection and you followed your heart, you went out on faith, and you are there still 10 years
mhm.
later, you
That's
know?
right. Yeah, it
And
wasn't easy.
you are healthy, you thriving, you are even, preparing the table for others to come, and
Mm,
visit or repatriate. Also, you are feeding the masses. When
yeah,
I saw that video that you showed to us on Facebook about the cassava and the
mhm.
groundnut, and the beans and all of that. So, how did that even get started? Like, what made you all want to start farming for the people? And do you see yourself doing animal farming in the future?
Um, a lot of things contributed to us doing farming here. Um, our people in America, we usually go to the grocery store and just buy what's there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Today, but
Yeah.
back in the day, we had butchers, we had our own farms, we had, we fed ourselves in a different kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
If there was money being spent on food, it's being spent in our community. So we had something self-sustainable. Um, we're talking about agriculture, so we're talking about food. We're
Yes.
talking about a life necessity, like water,
Mm-hmm.
like air, like sleep, And so oftentimes we don't think about food as something that is being used against us. But you sent me the questions. So I did prepare for this question, this answer.
Mm-hmm.
I got some things that I took some notes down. I could read some of it off and kind of elaborate. I wanted to answer this question properly.
Okay.
First of all, I personally have always had a relationship with plants. in one way or another. My mother, she always had plants in the house, different plants that she just grew and be
Yeah,
hanging in the living room. And my mom was
that's
an old
me.
head, man. You know, she was an OG, man. She wore the big hats to church and all that. So, and I always tell people that one of the things that made me want to be a farmer, made me want to be able to farm. Even if I wasn't going to be doing this, I wanted to know how to do it. It just interested me at a very young age. Was that everywhere we lived, my mother would always do little gardens in the backyard. And um, she would grow spearmint tea for teas when we get sick and stuff. She would pour the spearmint leaf and mix it, give us some camphorphenique and all this stuff, and we'd be all right. But one of the earliest things that I remember doing that made me happy with my mother was farming. I would say just gardening, because my other siblings hated doing it. And it was because my mom was rough. My mom was tough love. She wasn't no, come here, son, can you please? She wasn't that. Boy, get on down, hurry up and pick up get the
Right.
weeds. You know, she was on it. So some of my siblings, they was like, man, she be talking crazy, you know? But me, I was never really afraid of her in that kind of way. And I like helping her in that way. I like going down and pulling the weeds out. That was like something, maybe I've been 3, 4 years old, a small kid when I remember this. But she had me down in the garden and I was pulling no, get that one. She was telling me, no, not that one, that. So I know how to pull a weed and leave the actual plant.
Yeah.
And I can remember, even as I'm saying it to you, that it did something to me. I had a different respect for what she was trying to do. And my mother's from Orangeburg, South Carolina. The nickname for Orangeburg, South Carolina is the Garden State. I mean, it's the Garden City.
Okay.
So even down there, you ain't got no house or no backyard. There ain't no garden jumping off. So it was a part of the culture that she took to the north with her. And I was able to be a part of that because she needed me to be down there doing that because she was older. She didn't want to be, her back. I this little black son, boy, get down there and get them weeds out. No, not that. Leave that. That's my food. That one right there. So the long story short is that my mother had a tremendous amount of respect for plants in the home, whether it was in the backyard or it was in the living room or whatever. I was around plants. And my mom seemed like she loved the things. She loved the plants. So all that to say that the seed was planted then for me to understand that food is actually planted. That it's not, it doesn't just show up in the grocery store. People plant food. There's farmers. And that if we can plant it, then we don't have to buy it.
Exactly.
And
just take care of it.
Yeah, sometimes you're gonna go pay for it and it's all watered down when you could just grow it in the backyard.
Yeah.
So my mother had that concept, and I'll give her the credit for exposing me to the seed, the earth, the sun, the water. I understood it from her. And of course, throughout the years, I'll be able to get more into things. But this is what I want to say about the question that you have. Food insecurity is a contradiction for African people in this world, more than any other people on the face of the earth. And I'm going to read some of this stuff to you so you can have some of the raw information that we can chop it up more. But one of the statements says, over the past few decades, Africa's food import bill has more than tripled, reaching about 35 billion US dollars a year. So what this is saying is that the import bill for Africa for food, Africa is importing $35 billion worth of food per year with all this damn land. So I want to talk about the African food trade. We talk about the gold trade and the salt and this and that. Let's talk about the essentials.
Yeah.
The African food trade, the level of African intra-trade, trade between African countries, so to speak, between African people, is low in comparison with its total trade value. Trade data reveals that over the review period of 2012 to 2016, only 20% of African food exports stayed in Africa.
Wow.
Where's the other 80%? Who we feeding now? Why are we hungry?
Wow.
So it's not food insecurity. We're even being robbed for our food. So it goes on, it says, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, Africa imported about 85% of its food from 2016 to 2018 from outside the continent, amounting to $35 billion and is expected to reach $110 billion by 2025.
Oh my goodness.
So when you ask me, why are we doing twos and C's, I have to give you my history of planting and why I got this little thing with it. And now I want to help you understand why we should be promoting and supporting these twos and C's programs. So Africa's top exports are mainly tropical commodities. That tells you that it's usually the areas closer to the equator and not North Africa that's producing these things. The tropical, where we at, the Bantu.
Yeah, the West.
Yeah. Such as cocoa, coffee, tea, and cotton. Cotton's a key one. You ain't never thought about there being no cotton plantations in Africa, have you?
Shoot, I couldn't believe when I was in Africa, I was sleeping on a cotton pillow. It was cotton seeds coming out the pillow. I was like, what? I was tripping.
Yeah.
For real.
So it says, while its main food imports are wheat, rice, soybeans, other oil seeds, and frozen meat products. Listen to that, please. Because you asked me, is there going to be any animal husbandry? But I'll talk about that too. Wheat, rice. Why are we importing rice? I don't get it. They exported us because we knew how to plant rice.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Soybeans. What can soybeans do for us? Soybeans got complications. This food that we know how to grow here that's indigenous to the land, that all we need is tools and seeds and some machines. We can sustain ourselves. So Africa could produce 2 to 3 times more cereal and grains, which would add 20% more cereal and grains to the current worldwide 2.6 billion tons of output. Africa could increase that by 20%. It says here, so we can hit home, me and you was born in the United States of America, right? Right? Have you eaten today? You eaten already today, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how much of your food that you've eaten was actually grown in Africa?
I'm sure, because I ate something that had to deal with corn. So,
corn over here.
Yeah.
All over.
Yeah, so corn, beans, tomatoes, hey, green, hey. Man.
This says agriculture exports to the United States of America have grown significantly since African Growth and Opportunity Act. That's early 2000s. From 59 million in 2001 to 261 million in 2014. It's now 2022. Imagine what it is now. So Americans, probably many Black Americans, African Americans, are consuming food that is literally being taken from Africa, and we're being left here to starve. And you're wondering why we're saying support the tools and seeds. The people have food insecurity. So it says the main exports of agriculture products to the U.S. are cocoa, paste, and powder, citrus fruits, edible nuts, wine, unmanufactured tobacco, and vegetables. It just goes on to say, why can't Africa grow its own food?
Yeah.
Is it a problem? Is it that we're not growing our own food, or is it that we're growing food that's being stolen? They include crop failure, due to droughts. There are droughts that
Mm-hmm.
happen. And floods, we all know that happens.
Yeah.
The problem is tripling. You need a little bit of capital to be able to get a machine and try to invest in some commercial farming to make it sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just
Mm-hmm.
farm. You can't eat a whole 100 acres of rice. You ain't gonna eat it by yourself. You
Right.
gotta market it and sustain it, and it's more than just the production.
Yeah.
And of course, conflict. Africa is always in conflict. How do you think civil wars impact farming? You know, and then you have disease, of course. People who are literally unable to perform labor. Maybe they're suffering from a hernia but they can't go to a hospital and get it mended so they can go back to the field. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are elders. Being an elder is a handicap. You know, so all these things. But the main thing that is responsible for this is misguided government policies and weak institutions. Those are the main culprits because they outlast all of these things and they are more at the root than at the effect, the root
Mm-hmm.
cause. They're actually the root effect.
Yep,
So sometimes
they
we
are.
confuse effects for the causes, but anywhere you see these causes, you'll see these effects. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but it says chronic food insecurity, code word, in sub-Saharan Africa stems from decades of poor governance, said the UNDP regional director for Africa. However, overall, Africa produces more than enough food to feed itself. So this is
More
the
than
dilemma.
enough.
This is the dilemma. We are farming more than enough right now. But 80 to 85% of what we're farming is feeding the outside world.
Yep.
And we're left in the villages where we don't have any control over policies or trade to fend for ourselves out of not sustainable cooperative farming like what we're doing. But it breaks down to nobody has enough money to actually collectivize and pull anything together. They do subsistence farming. Subsistence farming locks your agricultural production into like handcuffs and shackles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It can't agriculturally your production will be retarded
Right. Right.
because you don't have the tools and the seeds necessary for the people to maximize production so that they have a surplus that they can take to the market and then pay their workers and then invest in the social institutions and infrastructure that they actually need to make their lives better.
Mm-hmm.
That's not there unless someone comes and intervenes and brings that here. So Tools and Seeds Farmers Assistance Project, it was created out of the need, us understanding that this is a need. It is not a want. It's not something that, oh, well, I just want to go do some farming in Africa. It's something that I live here, other people live here. And it's like what I told you. If you know that there's a village that needs a borehole so that they can have safe drinking water, that they've lost 10 lives in 10 years. Every year they lose somebody to the damn water. They tired of losing their relatives. And you know it. What do you think you're supposed to do?
Yep. Yep.
Like, like some people they got hearts. Some people they don't want to see it because they don't want to have to help.
Yep. Be held accountable.
But they want help though. They want help though.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is like when we understand that Africa is feeding the world, it's a total contradiction for Africans to be suffering in food insecurity. We want to rechange that verdict. So here, just to let you know, we've been farming since 2016. Me and my wife.
Okay.
We started off just doing it for ourselves. My village that when I came back, they adopted me into. They was trying to build a school. They was already starting the classrooms, and I was like, "What's up with some farming? Can we do some farming?" And they was like, "Sure, no problem." So that's how we did it. We started first off just doing farming with the community. We grew some groundnuts, learned the basic process of brushing the area, planting the food, setting the trap for the rodents. when to weed, and learn the whole process of how to farm here. Learn that you have 3-month farming and then you have long range farming. Some things you leave in the ground for a year. Some things you might leave for 2 years. Some things, the cash crops you leave for 3 months. And those 3 months is the rain season. So you have an abundance of rain where you have a rain forest and everything gets very well, nourished. Yeah. And so the food here should never be a problem. It's just disorganized and the governance is poor. Now, that governance doesn't mean I'm talking about the whole Sierra Leone government. I'm talking about the governance of agricultural production at the community level in the chiefdoms where the people live, and they don't have the seeds or the tools in order to advance their interests. Where the British left paramount chiefs sitting down on top of a people and as the custodians of all the land. And now, if you want to farm, you have to go and deal with them.
Yeah.
The individual people don't really have no land. So this is one of the gripes of Africans from the diaspora, thinking that citizenship and land is entitled. It's because there's people here who don't have a birth certificate or
ID.
Yeah, to even prove their citizenship, but you got one. There's people here who don't own a grain of sand, a grain of dirt, and you want to come buy land where they don't even got the right to control it themselves. So it's a lot of dilemmas. You can come here and the people be going through a land struggle, and you start buying land, and you find yourself on one side of that struggle, and we really got to watch it. We really, really got to watch it. So what we do, it started off with my village. It was successful. We did a little farming. We just left it there with the people. It was mainly about us being involved in that activity. That sparked something. I want to do farming closer to Freetown now because that's where I live. We did another project with a brother. It didn't really end out well. And it would be fake for me not to say that every investment is a risk. And it's really about communication and relationship building. Some people can communicate well, but they're not righteous.
Yeah.
And so the second time that we went to do the farming, we did it somewhere near close to Freetown, a place called 4 Mile, Newton. And so we did it, but the guy wasn't right. He wasn't straight up. At the end of the day, before even the harvest, he ducked on us. But we were chasing him around like, yo, when we gonna get this stuff? When we gonna get this stuff? And we can't go to your farm without you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like he just went ghost on us. And of course, we had someone who led us to them, so we was able to hold that person accountable and, make sure that it wasn't a total burn. But it happened. I'm like, wow, these people, I'm just trying to help you make some money, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was that kind of thing, but it happened. 2-3 years ago, we did the first Tools and Seeds Farmers Assistance Project. It was because we realized that while we want to assist, we also want it to be sustainable, that it won't be successful unless it's sustainable. And in order for it to be sustainable, the community itself has to seize ownership of the program.
Yeah.
And so we went from just planting and going through the process to learn how to do it ourselves to now our nonprofit taking it as a full steam project based on the information and the experience that we got from just venturing with our own money, with our own family, and trying to learn how to grow food for us.
Yeah.
So I can bring a bag of groundnuts home and 2 bags of rice. It wasn't about everyone else. It was like, yo, everyone out here needs to have a little bit of farming going on.
Yeah.
So that's what it was, because if not, you're going to be buying the imported rice. You're going to be buying the imported food. And that money going to go back out there to the people. So me having that consciousness, I'm always trying to beat their system, And so when we got to the point in 2019 that we was ready to actually launch the nonprofit company here, the next year we decided that rain season we would do a big farming. We went to a place called Magboya. It's in the north of the country, at Timni village, Timni, when they were called Sanda Timni. And the village was very poor. It was very poor. I won't lie about that. But the people were very, very willing to change their conditions. And maybe some of them had bad ideals, but the majority of them definitely was genuine. And so, we kept our eyes for the guy, our eyes open on the people who we thought they looked kind of leery. These might be the bad guys. But we were able to plant, I believe it was 30 acres of ground nuts.
Wow.
We also ventured into coal at that time. We learned that when you farm here, you have to clear brush.
Yeah.
And after you clear brush, there's one or two things you can do with it, depending on what kind of brush it is. You can burn it, or you can turn it into board, but that wood has value. So here, coal is the #1 energy source. It's not gas, it's not oil, it's coal.
Okay.
Everybody cooks on coal pots. Coal. And the coal that we use is processed out of trees. It's burnt out of trees. They have an old method where they chop them, they bury it inside like mud, and then it has a little hole. It's an ancient way that they do it.
It's a process.
It's a process, and only certain people really got that knowledge. And I love it. I love the fact that they can produce their own coal and create their own energy. But the thing was, how does that become sustainable? Because you can deplete your forest if you don't have a plan to replant trees or farm or make more value with the land that you cleared. So what we learned from Magboya was that as we cleared the land, some of the trees was good to make coal out of. So we ended up burning the coal, and we also ended up planting also some cassava. Cassava is dope to plant because throughout the rain season, after about, I think, the 5th week, 6th week, the leaves of the cassava plant, you can pluck them. And then after like 3 more weeks, 4 weeks, you can go out there and you can pluck them again. So before you actually have to pull the cassava from the ground, you can actually benefit from the leaves. So what we learn how to do with the cassava is we pull the leaves, sell the leaves on the market so that we can pay for the weeding and the harvest. So everything is paid for itself when you understand how farming works.
When you understand the system.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying all of that to let you know that we started off at the project level in 2020 in the north of this country. Last year in 2021, we went into a community in the south. And it was mainly because the brother who was our host and guide in the first community, he passed away. He was the chairman for our organization here, but he passed away. No one expected it, but when he passed away, there was no way we could continue moving like that. Where we really didn't have the relationship that we needed to sustain that. So our national director directed us to another location, and ever since then we've been building. That location is called it's a chiefdom called Kowa Chiefdom. It's located in the Moyamba district of Sierra Leone, and the headquartered town is called Jama, Njama, Jama. It's a Mende village. It's a traditional Mende place.
Mende.
Yeah, Mende place. And the people are, just like all the Sierra Leone people. I don't want to seem biased towards the Mende. I love everybody. Everybody here got their own unique way. But they have a very traditional, typical Mende society there. They are good people. You know what I mean? And a lot of the elders, they went out and taught and taught in the towns, but now they're back living in the village. And so we went there. We organized an executive trip. We sent a letter up to meet with the paramount chiefs, to meet with the society men and women, to meet with the teachers, to meet with the stakeholders of the community, of the chiefdom. And they invited, oh, sure, come on through. We went up there, they welcomed us grandly. We had a big public gathering and meeting with the paramount chief. And I was able to explain what our intentions were. and why, you know, and they was just like, yo, oh my, where you come from, man?
Wow.
Where the hell you come from? Like,
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
come here? You understand exactly what we need. How do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know how to work with us without overstepping your boundaries?
Yeah.
How do you understand it? And
Mm-hmm.
so the thing is like, we was able to come together and say, well, there's 3 areas of support that we would like to see this chiefdom advance in. One was education. So since the last 2 years, we've been supporting the educational developments in the village in more than one way. We have an elder named Yomi. She came here last year, spent 3 months with me and my wife here, right here at the house. And we took her down to the village. They gave her a name, brought her into the house, everything. She was able to go to a traditional ceremony with us where they venerate their ancestors and they actually go into the bush society. So the society invited us to an event. And that's only for people who are part. So it was an honorable thing for us to be able to go see and experience and be invited to. But it came from what we do with the community.
Mm-hmm.
So Mama Yomi is a long-term educator. She's an elder, and she's been contributing to getting new desks, new chalkboards. They have 5 schools in this village, in this one village. Man, they got a preschool, they got a nursery, but they don't have mats on the floor, and the paint is dirty. So she's like, no, these babies got to see a beautiful school.
Yeah.
So she has stepped up to play a role in making sure that the people have that educational support. And what we do is make sure that they play by the rules, and that it's not a scam or a game, and that they are transparent, so we can hold them accountable to doing what they say they're going to do with the resources.
Yes.
So we have an abundance of photos and videos and everything to show and prove everything that I'm saying to you. We showcase deliberately the document. So when people are in doubt, here it go. So she helps with education. Then we have health. Health is a big issue in these remote villages in Africa. Big issue. So we haven't done much with the health in terms of with the institutions, but we have organized a medical mission trip. Maybe before this next rain season begins in May, the medical mission trip would have already commenced. We do this with a sister named Yvonne, what is her name? Washington Toure. She has a program called God's House International, and she does mission trips. She does medical mission trips. So when she comes this time, we'll be going down to the village to get some people some medical resources. Thirdly, food. Food. When we went there, everybody was talking, man, we want to farm, we want to farm, we want to farm. But how? We don't have a chance. No one believes in us. I'm like, yo, wait.
Wow.
I'm like, wait. So I'm like, okay, dig it. They was like, really? I asked them, I said, how are y'all farming? They said, well, every man for themselves. Every man go where he go and just plant what he can. And if you don't plant enough or you lose out, you just lost out, homie. So I said, no. That's not how ancestors did it. Not how we gonna do it, bro. We ultimately, within 3 months, we cleared and we planted 120 acres of food.
Wow.
Manually with no machines. We fed people. People went home with their stipends. And at the end of the harvest, they harvest all the crops and we didn't take nothing.
Wow.
So this year, all they did was replant the same seeds.
They just replanted the same seeds.
So that's the sustainability of it. And now
that's amazing.
Now they have a spirit that they own this 120-acre farm that now they got seeds to maintain. So, so this is why we do it. It also, it's spiritually enriching to collaborate with other human beings to do that are needed. And to see the morale booster that it gives the communities that are depressed. You know, they know what they can do.
Yeah.
Like they knew they could. Like they knew they could do 120 acres with their hands.
Mm-hmm.
They knew it.
Mm-hmm.
But who believed in them?
Right.
Believe in them enough to give them the tools and seeds and the support that they need to get on their feet and stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would want. Like we would.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that builds genuine extended family relationships. It's no longer about your tribe or where you're from or anything anymore. It's not about that anymore. It's more intimate now. We have demonstrated concern and interest in contributing to your educational, medical destiny in this village.
Man, I tell you, this is such a great initiative that you all have embarked on. How can people donate to your initiative? Let the platform know some websites, some email addresses. How can they reach out to you all to possibly adopt a village and help with the seeds and the workmanship? How can we donate?
Well, anyone can always stay in contact with us in terms of basic social media. We usually keep people updated there. You can find us there. I think we have a few like pages. One is the Gullah Redemption Mission, Sierra Leone, but the main one that you'll find us like on Facebook will be Gullah Leone, Gullah Gullah, of course, for those who don't know, Leone, Leone. There's a lot of information there, and I may be mistaken. So if you go there right now and it's being worked out, it's still there.
Okay.
But the website is www.gullaleone.org.
Okay.
You can go check that out. We also, for anyone who has a commercial interest, to someone who says, hey man, I want to grow some stuff and have it processed and bagged and sent to me. That's more of a commercial thing. For those who are seeking to transition to Sierra Leone, whether it's going to be a full-time repatriation or a temporary stay, agriculture is something that you might want to actually be able to have a hand in while you're here in the country. So, of course, we provide those resources as well with our consultancy, many services we provide people when they come and they try to get established. So you can always check out what we have going on there with www.gulladugu, Gullahdugu. Dugu, it means place. It means place or village or whatever. So Gulladugu is Gullah Village. It's gulladugu.com.
Okay.
And so you can catch us on either of those. In terms of Cash App, anyone who feels as though they really, really want to make a financial contribution to the farming, right now we're harvesting. We'll have an abundance of rice that we still have to harvest. We just completed the planting of acres and acres of black-eyed peas. We would call them black-eyed peas. Here they call them black-eyed peas, a great source of protein. We found that this village, you drop a seed and it grows.
Wow.
And
that's the African soil, man.
Yeah, you really can't grow black-eyed peas everywhere. Most people import them from Nigeria. But this land actually can produce native black-eyed peas here. So it's a good market for the people. So right now, where we are is we're preparing to harvest the rice and the other mixed crops. So anyone who really wants to be able to contribute to that process, hey, feel free. Our Cash App is $Gulladugu, Gullahdugu. And we fully appreciate it. I want people to really consider that this is bigger than money.
It is.
We need reliable brothers and sisters that we can do this work to and with. So many people are dying without being able to fulfill their true purpose.
Yes.
Because of egos and because of money, because of all these things that we know and we can't take with us and really ain't got nothing to do with what we trying to get accomplished. But farming, I'm calling y'all, man. If y'all really can help, I would help. And for all the reasons that I said earlier, if you're interested in getting involved in farming, no doubt, land is there. Right now, we're also going into real estate in terms of helping people find homes when they come here. And even if you're staying for a month, you should have a safe, secure place to live while you're here. You shouldn't have to go to a foreign-owned hotel and pay taxis to take you around and pay, hosts and guides that's going to try to overcharge you or let people overcharge you while they're with you. All these things can happen, man, if you're gullible.
And they do. They happen all the time.
Oh yeah. And so we're trying to create a safe landing for our people.
Yeah.
And give them some activities to be involved in that can help them generate some resources while they're here, making their transition from real estate, to farming, so everything is set up, and I would definitely say, whether it's the education or the food or the medical, we're looking for more support, more material support. Right now, what we was able to accomplish last year, 120 acres of food, we did that manually. We did that with hand tools. The people now hope and pray for a tractor. We want a John Deere. The cassava that we planted last year is still in the ground if you see it. I'm talking about my arm length cassava. That's just one. And you might got 6 connected to one stick that we planted. So it's really, really visible. You can see the production in farming. You asked me earlier about animal husbandry, and I wanna probably end this segment with that. Animal husbandry is big here in a certain kind of way. Most of the meat that we eat here on the market is native, even though a lot is imported. In this particular country, if you have a Pornado, a naming ceremony for a child, or if you have a wedding, or you have a 40-day for someone who passed away, any event that you would have in a family or people's lives usually involves animals. It usually involves animals being sacrificed to feed the family. And so we don't got butchers, but everybody in the family probably know how to
butcher.
Everybody's a butcher. So we got that closeness to animals like that. Whereas, if you bring a sheep to the projects in America, they might shoot that joint. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They might, oh, what's that? Pow, And but here, depending on how long it takes for animals to reproduce, you're beginning to see your value. Like cows, I believe it's once a year. A cow gives birth to one cow once a year. Sometimes
yeah.
So that if you buy a cow, it's probably more expensive than a sheep, because a sheep might give you 2 a year. So the animal that gives you the most per year usually has the lower unit price.
Yeah, like chickens.
Exactly. So you got people here, just like probably down south back in the day, every house got some chickens in the village. There's certain domestic
quick.
Yeah, there's certain animals that's domestic that keep the food supply going.
Yeah.
But we would like to go into animal husbandry. Particularly with cows, because they could be used also in the farming, and that could kill the need for a machine or for fuel, and it can reduce the economics of it if we can go the old school way and hook the ox up to the plow.
Exactly.
Exactly. And it don't matter how you get it done, as long as you get it done.
As long as it get done.
Yeah. So of course tractors might be a one-man job and you can pay one person, but ain't nothing like the people doing it together. So the beautiful thing is that the people can see that they've created it for themselves by making the decision to collaborate. It's a very
Well,
important thing.
thank you, brother, so much for this download. And I feel like when people see this, they will be more up to donating to the cause, because it's not just about, them. It's about feeding the masses and helping people sustain themselves and making them feel happy about, taking care of themselves, not having to go out and feel like they have to go search for jobs all the time just to feed their families or feed themselves. If they
Oh,
can
yeah.
plant, they can most definitely eat, you know?
That's the thing. That's why I was
Yeah.
telling you, like,
Yeah.
we are still colonized.
Yeah.
Colonialism destroyed our indigenous systems of self-reliance.
Mm-hmm.
That was the purpose of colonialism. So, of
Mm-hmm.
course, to decolonize, you must restore the systems of self-reliance,
Yes.
at least in your food and your education and your healthcare.
Yeah. Those
And
are
so,
the main ones.
you see, so now the thing about it is this. Also, I wanted to drop this mic too, so you really can see how far we go with it. We don't just go and do a program and leave it there. We've organized 35 members in that community first so that they could be the leaders of the initiative. Mm-hmm. Since then, we have established an independent community-based organization. And we registered a community-based organization for the people that they operate under the bylaws of the company here in Freetown, but they're independent. And we've taught them and empowered them with local independent organization. They have their own bank account. They meet on their own. They give their own reports. So we put them we didn't just give them food, just feed the people. We empowered them with a system of organization to sustain it.
That's because y'all organizers.
That's the point.
Organizers by nature. That's what me and Kenya was talking about the last time. She said, we are organizers. And yes, y'all are. Goodness. I'm so proud of y'all. I am. Y'all are wonderful people. Like, I know the people of Sierra Leone are just, like so, happy that you all came there, to set, some ground rules and teach them some things that, we learned over here in the States, and they're also teaching us things too. It's like each one teach one, it's like a collective, So I'm gonna go ahead and end this here, brother. We've been on here for almost 2 hours. You know how we do when we get on wax.
Okay. Anytime.
Yes.
You already
Most
know.
definitely. Tell the wife I said hello. And thank you for all your contributions on the continent, brother. I'm going to make sure I put all your information in the description box, and we're going to make this thing go viral.
All right. Thank you. Gratitude and reciprocity to you as well.
No problem, Chief. You have a great night.
All right, sister. Thank you.